We are live.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as you're able and join me in the welcoming of City Council and the playing of the national anthem, the reading of the invocation.
Please remain standing as you're able while I read the invocation to begin tonight's council meeting. As we come together today, we recognize the great responsibilities laid upon us. Our council will always strive to understand the needs of the people we serve and to use power wisely and well. Our purpose is to establish and maintain a city of prosperity and righteousness where freedom prevails and where justice rules. We acknowledge the rich history of this land, which includes the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples. Today, there are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples who live or work in the city. The intent of this acknowledgement is to recognize our responsibility to use and take care of these lands responsibly and respectfully while remembering the generations past and considering the generations yet to come. We respect and seek to continue and promote the long-standing relationship with the area's First Nations, the Six Nations of the Grand River First Nation, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and the Indigenous peoples who reside within the city of Brantford. Let us also not forget those who've served our community and who are no longer with us, so we continue to do the work that we must in their memory. Please be seated. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councillor Samwell.
Present.
Councillor Martin.
Here.
Councillor Caputo.
Present.
Councillor Sokoli.
Here.
Councillor Van Tilborg.
Present.
Councillor Carpenter.
Present.
Councillor McCreary.
Here.
And Councillor Sullivan.
Present.
And Mayor Davis.
Present.
Through the chair, roll call's been taken.
All right, if anybody has a pecuniary interest regarding any item that's on tonight's agenda, now is the time to make your declaration. Do so by raising your hand. Seeing no raised hands, no declarations. So we'll now move into the separation of items in the committee reports for discussion purposes. Members, does anybody want any of the items separated? Councillor McCreary and then Councillor Carpenter.
Mayor, thank you. Yes, I have three. The first is item 11.1. Second is 11.3. And the third is 12.2.9.
That's the review of the municipal code of conduct. Okay. Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Carpenter, do you want an item separated for discussion?
Yes, 11.6.
11.6. Okay. Seeing no other raised hands or anybody asking for items to be separated. Councillor Carpenter, can you move the motion then to approve all items in the committee reports that have not been separated for discussion purposes?
Sure, it's moved by myself and seconded by, I guess, Councillor Michael Sullivan, that all items discussion purposes be approved.
voting on the main motion, I'll ask the clerk to read the title of the items that we're voting on.
Through the chair, the following items are subject to the votes from the Social Services Committee Report 1211, Housing Stability Working Pilot Program Evaluation, 1212, New Affordable Housing Development, 687 Colborne Street, 1213, Association of Municipalities of Ontario Homelessness Study, 1214, Centralized Housing Waitlist Annual Update from the Combined Committee of the Whole meeting, 1221, Funding Request for the Heritage Grant Program, 1222, Review and Update to the Heritage Procedures and Delegated Authority, 1223, Economic Development, Tourism and Cultural Initiatives Advisory Committee Report, 1224, Brantford Accessibility Advisory Committee Report, 1225, 2026 Municipal Election Alternative Voting Options, 1226, Museum Sustainability Plan and Implementation Progress Update, 1227, 2025 Climate Action Implementation Plan, 1228, 2025 to 2029 Brantford Accessibility Plan, 12210, Honorarium of Committee of Adjustment Members from the Special Committee of the Whole Report, 1231 Brantford 2050 City Vision Facilitated Workshop. Through the chair, we're just waiting for Councillor Carpenter to cast his vote. All items not separated for discussion purposes carries unanimously on a recorded vote of 9-0. Members of council voting in favor: Councillors Sullivan, McCreary, Van Tilburg, Samuel, Carpenter, Martin, Caputo, Sicoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, so we have no statutory public hearings on tonight's agenda, nor are there any recognitions of achievement. But we do have 3 proclamations. So Councillor Samuel, would you please move all the proclamations, state your seconder, and you can start it off by reading proclamation 8.1.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Van Tilburg that the following proclamations be approved. 8.1, International Mother Language Day, February 21st, 2025. 8.2, 2025 International Women's Day, March 8th, 2025. And 8.3, Amyloidosis Awareness Month of March. All right, thank you. International Mother Language Day, February 21st, 2025. Whereas languages are essential to education and sustainable development, serving as the primary means through which knowledge is transferred and cultures are preserved, and whereas February 21st, 1952, a number of students from Dhaka University in Bangladesh were tragically killed during a demonstration advocating for the recognition of their mother language. Bangla, also known as Bengali, the observance of International Mother Language Day honors the sacrifice of these students and their unwavering advocacy for linguistic rights, and whereas multilingual education, particularly for minority and Indigenous languages, not only helps learners, but also fosters a deeper connection between education and culture, contributing to more inclusive and equitable societies. And whereas the 25th anniversary of International Mother Language Day celebrates a quarter century of efforts to preserve linguistic diversity and promote mother tongues, and whereas International Mother Language Day, first proclaimed by UNESCO and later adopted by the UN General Assembly, underscores the role of languages in promoting inclusion, and now therefore it be resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Brantford hereby proclaims February 21st, 2025 as International Mother Language Day, and that City Hall will be lit up in green to honor International Mother Language Day. And I just wanted to note that although we didn't get a chance to honor this earlier this month because we didn't have a meeting, that we're honored to do it tonight. So thank you.
Great. And Councillor Sicoli, if you'd read proclamation 8.2, please.
I'd be happy to. It's titled 2025 International Women's Day. And I have permission from the chair just to share briefly that the shirts that you'll see around council chambers tonight that I'm wearing and Councillor Samwell's wearing and Mayor Davis is wearing. These were designed by an incredibly talented staff woman right here at City Hall, Nikki Francis. Thank you so much for designing these. And they were printed by a local businesswoman, Amanda at Zed Brantford. And so in saying that, I'll move into the proclamation. Whereas in 2022, the City of Brantford joined the UNESCO Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities to demonstrate our commitment to promoting diversity and inclusion in Brantford. And whereas in 2023, the City of Brantford launched the Inclusive Community Plan 2023 to 2026 to support community-based activities that celebrate diversity and stand against racism, discrimination, exclusion, and intolerance in all its forms. And whereas International Women's Day is a global celebration on March 8th, intended to inspire action for gender equality, and whereas International Women's Day serves as a platform to recognize achievements, honor courage, and commitment to breaking down barriers that women continue to face. And whereas the City of Brantford remains steadfast in its commitment to promoting equity, justice, and supporting women's success. And whereas on the 114th International Women's Day, the city recognizes the 2025 theme of Accelerate Action, focusing on how collectively we can accelerate action for gender equality. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Brantford hereby proclaims March the 8th, 2025 as International Women's Day and renews its commitment to securing the rights and unleashing the full potential of women while addressing social, economic, and political barriers they encounter. And the city invites all members of the public to join us at a flag raising on Monday, March 3rd at 11 a.m. to honor the incredible women in our community.
And Councillor Sullivan, if you please read proclamation 8.3.
Certainly. Whereas March is Amyloidosis Awareness Month, a month dedicated to raising awareness, funding research, and supporting those living with amyloidosis and those and their loved ones. And whereas amyloidosis is a group of diseases that occurs when an abnormal protein, known as an amyloid, builds up in the tissues and organs of the body. Left untreated, the disease can result in organ failure and can be fatal. And whereas amyloidosis can mimic the signs and symptoms of more common medical conditions, and the disease can be challenging to diagnose, and whereas amyloidosis often affects people who are older or middle-aged, however, younger people have been diagnosed with the disease. And whereas some of the signs and symptoms of amyloidosis can include shortness of breath, weight loss, fatigue, swelling in ankles and legs, numbness in the hands, feet, foamy urine, carpal tunnel syndrome, bruising around the eyes, and enlarged tongue, and whereas early diagnosis can lead to better outcomes for both patients and their families, and whereas raising awareness about all the amyloidosis diseases, including hereditary and non-hereditary forms of the disease, can contribute to building of healthier communities across Canada. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Brantford hereby proclaims March as Amyloidosis Awareness Month in the City of Brantford.
Thank you. So I'll now call the vote on the proclamations.
The approval of all proclamations carries unanimously on recorded vote of 9-0. Members of council voting in favor: Councillors Sullivan, McCreary, Van Tilburg, Samuel, Carpenter, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right. So now move into, there are no presentations or delegations, but I'll move into the clerk's report and communications. Councillor Martin, I believe you have the motion to receive the clerk's report and communication.
That I do, Mr. Mayor. I move, seconded by Councillor McCreary, that the clerk's report on communication for February 2025 be received.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote.
The approval of the clerk's report on communication carries unanimously on recorded vote of 9-0. Members of council vote in favor: Councillors Sullivan, McCreary, Van Tilburg, Samuel, Carpenter, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, we'll move into minutes. Council Van Tilburg, would you please understand you're going to move the motion to adopt the minutes listed in the agenda? And if you read the resolution, please, and state your seconder.
Moved by myself, seconded by Counselor Samwell, that the following minutes be received. 11.1, John Noble Home Committee of Management, January 8th, 2025. 11.2, John Noble Home Committee of Management, Private and Confidential, January 15th, 2025. 11.3, John Noble Home Committee of Management, February 12th, 2025. 11.4, John Noble Home Committee of Management, Private and Confidential, February 12th, 2025. 11.5, City Council, January 28th, 2025, and 11.6, Special City Council, February 11th, 2025.
All right, so a little unusual. We have 3 requests for separation for discussion. So what I'll do is begin with those that have not been separated, which is 11.2, John Noble Home Committee of Management, Private and Confidential, January 15th, 11.4, John Noble Home Committee of Management, Private and Confidential, February 12th, 11.5, City Council, January 28th, 2025. So call the vote on those items that have not been separated. No. No.
The approval of all minutes not separated for discussion purposes carries unanimously on a recorded vote of 9-0. Members of council vote in favor are as follows. Councilors Sullivan, McCreary, Van Tilburg, Samuel, Carpenter, Martin, Caputo, Coley, and Mayor Davis.
All right. So we'll deal with the 11.6 Special City Council. Council Carpenter, you asked for that to be separated for the purposes of its errors and omissions, I assume?
Yes, I noticed in the minutes, there was an amendment that appointed me to a committee that I did not volunteer for. I think that's inappropriate, and I want to let you know that thanks to my nominator, but I do not accept the appointment. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I'll call the vote then on that, on those minutes.
The approval of item 11.6 carries and recorded vote of 8-1. Members of council vote in favor. Councilors Sullivan, McCreary, Van Tilburg, Samuel, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, Mayor Davis. Members opposed, Councilor Carpenter.
All right. So the next request, the next items we're dealing with are John Noble Home Committee of Management. And I must say this is a little unusual. I've never seen this in 6 years that I've been the mayor here, but bear in mind that when it comes to committee of management meeting minutes, it's not an issue of errors and omissions. That's for the John Noble Home Committee board to decide. But these minutes come to us in essence like minutes of committee of the whole. And so if there's anything in here that's a recommendation, then in essence, we adopt them. We indicate our approval or consent by approving the minutes. So if there's an issue about any recommendations that are made by the committee in those minutes, the proper course of action is to direct that it be referred to the Joint City-County Liaison Committee, and there can, of course, be debate on a motion for referral. So with that explanation, because we've never really dealt with this before, we'll move first to 11.1, which is the John Noble Home Committee of Management meeting minutes for January 2025. Councilor McCreary, you asked for it to be separated.
Mayor, yes, and thank you for that lengthy preamble. So when one looks at the, and I presume that there's greater latitude for discussion here than simply the errors and omissions, Mayor, and thank you for that instruction. 11.1, it's the minutes of, I don't know what the date is, January the 8th. We have Councilor Carpenter in the chair, but Councilor Carpenter is also moving and seconding items from the chair, which is contrary to our rules and procedures. And Mayor, I'd be looking for your direction with respect to how we raise this inquiry with John Noble Home, whether they operate under different rules than we do, or whether or not they simply made a mistake and the chair made a mistake in moving and seconding. Looking for your direction.
Well, it's really not a recommendation that's coming to us. I'd suggest that it's an issue for the John Noble Home board to deal with.
Okay.
If you do want it addressed, the only way to deal with it here is to refer that particular issue to the City-County Liaison Committee for them to consider.
And is that a committee which is awash on the shores of disinterest at present?
No, it's properly constituted.
Okay.
They're members. It's just there haven't been any issues referred to in quite some time.
Okay, so what I'll do then is I'll move that this item be referred to them for clarity with respect to rules and procedures of John Noble Home, whether chair and vice chair can move and second items from. the
Point of
chair.
clarification, Mr. Mayor?
All right, well, first of all, I want to get this on the floor. So is there a seconder for this? Second by Councillor Martin. All right.
And I'll speak to it ever so briefly.
Yes, if you would briefly, please.
Yes, I think it's important that we have that clarity with respect to their rules and procedures and whether they differ from ours. It may be perfectly acceptable on John Noble Home for the chair to move and second items. I kind of doubt it, but it'd be most interesting to get that response. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Carpenter, your turn.
Yeah, the point of clarification is I opened the meeting, the chair of the meeting, we had elections first and there was a new chair and new vice chair elected at that meeting. That should have been in the minutes, so that's what's missing. Thank you.
All right, that's the, oh, Councillor Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, since Councilor Carpenter was at this meeting, is this something that where he can correct these minutes? Or is that something that has to be corrected by the John Noble Home Board?
It's an issue of errors and omissions, so that's really for the John Noble Home Board of Management to correct. And as Councillor Carpenter, can you give us some assurance that that's going to be addressed at the next meeting?
Yes, we will correct those minutes that what's missing is the election of the chair and the vice chair, and that should have been in those minutes.
Right, okay. Well, I'm going to call the vote then, assuming that's still on the floor.
If we have the councilor's assurance that this will be dealt with by John Noble Home and that we'll have this on a future minutes of John Noble Home when it comes to us, I'm quite happy to have that dealt with by them and not by a joint meeting.
So you're withdrawing your motion?
With the blessing of the seconder. But unless members of this committee choose to act on it, yes.
Councillor Martin, what say you? All right, so it's not on the floor for discussion, but we have to vote on the John Noble Home Committee of Management meeting minutes. So I'm going to call the vote on that.
And Mayor, could you clarify what the vote means? Simply to accept them, to receive? them,
Correct. That's correct.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
The minutes from the John Noble Home are carried and recorded vote of 9-0. Members of council vote in favor. Councillors Sullivan, McCreary, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Carpenter, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, so we have one other set of minutes. It's the John Noble Home Committee of Management meeting minutes for their February 12th, 2025 meeting. Councillor Curry, you asked for that to be separate.
Indeed, I did, Mayor. Thank you. I wonder if there could be some clarity with respect to whether or not the John Noble Home Committee of Management has an election every meeting, because they had a meeting, an election in January and one in February. And this city of Brantford used to elect annually, going way back, then every 2 years. Interesting to have an election every meeting. And I presume that was just a vestigial tale from what happened in January, but it is somewhat confusing. Perhaps there'll be clarity on that. With respect to item 7.1, Mayor, the Bell Court redevelopment project, it would appear that delegation has been given to the chair of the committee and another member to review change orders and to authorize conversion of a contract to a stipulated price option. And that seems somewhat curious to me, and perhaps given the mayor's preamble to this discussion, perhaps there may be a response from the former chair with respect to an explanation for that. And I wouldn't refer it to anyone, but comment would be welcome.
Well, it's not appropriate. I don't think that's appropriate for when we receive the minutes in this fashion. The only thing that's appropriate is if you want to refer it to the City County Liaison Committee for the City County Liaison Committee to address that issue.
Mayor, thank you for that back report. No, the former chair had commented on the previous minutes, and I was simply inviting clarification from that member if he chooses to speak on this item, Mayor.
I'm going to, since we don't have any motion on the floor to refer to the City County Liaison Committee, I'm going to call the vote, which is again to receive these minutes.
Mayor, then, sorry, having heard that, sorry to interrupt, but I will then refer it to the City County Liaison since there was no response from any member of the committee who's attending tonight. So that I would move that it be referred there.
Is the vote completed? No, okay. The vote wasn't completed, so go ahead, put your motion on the floor.
I believe I just did.
Okay, is there a seconder?
Councilor
Second by Councilor Martin. Any discussion as to the motion to refer this item to the City County Liaison Committee? Not seeing any. Call the vote.
The referral of 11.3 carries on a recorded vote of 8-1. Members of council vote in favor. Councilors Sullivan, McCurry, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Martin, Caputo, Sakoli, Mayor Davis. Members opposed, Councilor Carpenter.
Now, I think we also have to, because there's more in those minutes than just that item. So I'm going to call the vote on the balance of the John Noble Home Committee of Management meeting minutes for February 12th, 2025, which in essence is to receive it. Other than what we just heard.
The remaining items of item 11.3 carries unanimously on a recorded vote of 9-0. Members of council vote in favor. Councilor Celeste, McCurry, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Carpenter, Martin, Caputo, Sakoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, with that out of the way now, we'll move on to committee reports, and Councilor Caputo, you've got the motion, place all separated items on the floor for discussion. I think there's really only one, but if you would make the motion, please.
Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Sakoli, that all items in the committee reports, items 12.1 to 12.3, separated for discussion purposes, be approved.
All right, so members, we have just one item that's been separated. It's 12.2.9, review of the municipal code of conduct. And Councilor McCurry, you asked for this to be separated.
Mayor, thank you. Yes, it's an item brought forward by Councilor Martin and I some time ago. It was unanimously, I believe, approved by this committee, a committee of the whole, gave direction to the mayor to constitute a committee consisting of himself and two victims of his choice. And I'm pleased to say that Councilor Hunt and I both are going to be serving with the mayor, and we look forward to the involvement in terms of a refresh on our code of conduct. We're mandated to do that by our own rules every now and again, and this is both now and again. And it should be a good exercise, and we'll be back to this committee in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I'll add to that. That's quite correct. The resolution, although it hadn't really been, well, it's not approved until it's approved by council tonight, but in anticipation that it was going to be, I have decided that it'd be Councilor Hunt and Councilor McCurry that would serve on me on this committee. We've also been in touch with the Integrity Commissioner, asked the Integrity Commissioner to review the code of conduct so that we can meet with him fairly quickly to receive his advice as to what should be addressed and updated, given that it has been 5 years since we reviewed the code of conduct. City members, council, if there's anything that you want us to address, the committee of three, I'd ask you speak to me or drop me a line. But we do hope to have a report certainly before the summer and maybe as early as, I think, perhaps April. We're going to move on it expeditiously. There's no need to delay it any further, assuming it's approved tonight. With that, oh, Councilor Carpenter, yes.
Yes, I wasn't going to separate this, but when an item that was moved to be in camera, for example, for legitimate reasons, when those reasons no longer exist, such as, for example, we were buying a piece of property, it's in camera because it no longer meets the requirements because the property has been purchased. I'd like to see us be more open and transparent and release that kind of information for discussion in full openness when it doesn't have any risk to the municipality in the future, just something.
Yeah, sorry, Councilor Carpenter, there's a problem with your connection. You keep, the audio and the video keeps breaking up, but I think we heard what you said, and that's something that I asked the Integrity Commissioner to consider how we might improve that section of the code. So, any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote.
Item 12.2.9 carries unanimously and a recorded vote of 9-0. Members of council voting in favor, Councilor Sullivan, McCreary, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Carpenter, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, so we have no urgent reports. There is one resolution. Councilor McCreary, I understand you have this motion. If you would please read it and state your seconder.
Pleased to Mayor, seconders, Councilor Martin. This is a resolution from the special in-camera city council meeting held today. Reads as follows: A, that council ratify the settlement reached between the corporation of the city of Brantford and the Canadian Union of Public Employees City Hall Unit, OW Housing Unit, and the outside unit for amendments to the CUPE Harmonized Benefit Plan. And B, that the Director of Human Resources be delegated authority to execute the memorandum of settlement and any ancillary documents to effect settlement ratified in clause A above.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question.
Item 14.1 carries unanimously on recorded votes. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councilor Sullivan, McCreary, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Carpenter, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, and Mayor Davis.
Move on to notices of motion. There's only one. Councilor Sokoli, would you please read the title of your notice of motion?
Yep, purchasing policy review and update.
All right, we'll move into bylaws. Councilor Caputo, if you would please move the motion for first and second reading of the bylaws.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Sokoli, that leave be given to the mover and seconder to introduce the following bylaws for first and second reading. 12/2025, 3, being a bylaw to address matters under the Ontario Heritage Act respecting to the submission of notices of intention to demolish under section 27, as well as applications under sections 33, 34, 42. 2025-48 Combined Committee of the Whole Report, 2025-02-11. 13/2025, 3, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 70/2010 by amending corporate policy 010, delegation of authority respecting applications under sections 33 and 42 and of the Ontario Heritage Act, 2025-48 Combined Committee of the Whole. 14/2025, 3, being a bylaw to authorize King George Road water main upgrades and make provision to the financing of the foregoing. 2025-51 Special City Council 2025-01-14. 15/2025, 3, being a bylaw to authorize the King George North Elevated Tank and to make provision of the financing for the foregoing. 2025-51 Special City Council 2025-01-14. 16/2025, 3, being a bylaw to authorize primary clarifier number 5 and number 6 refurbishment and to make provision for the financing of the for the foregoing. 2025-51 Special City Council 2025-01-14. 17/2025, 3, being a bylaw to authorize the Powerline Road Trunk Water Main PD4 and to make provision for the financing in the foregoing. 2025-51 Special City Council 2025-01-14. 18/2025, 3, being a bylaw to authorize the Grand River Northwest catchment local upgrades and to make provision for the financing of the foregoing. 2025-51 Special City Council 2025-01-14. 19/2025, 3, being a bylaw to authorize the wastewater treatment plant UV disinfection and chemical phosphorus removal system and to make provision for the financing of the foregoing. 2025-51 Special City Council 2025-01-14. 2025, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 021-2024, being a bylaw to fix fees and charges to be collected by the Corporation of City of Brantford for 2024-2027. 2025-51 Special City Council 2025-01-14. 2025 bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of City of Brantford with respect to the meeting held on February 25th, 2025.
Does anybody want any of the bylaws separated for discussion at first and second reading? Seeing no raised hands, I'll call the vote. Oops. Sorry, Councilor Carpenter, did you want something separate?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, 20 and 21, if you will, please. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll change the resolution we're voting on right now. We'll make it approval of bylaws 12 through to 19.
The first and second reading of all bylaws not separated for discussion purposes carries unanimously and recorded vote of 9-0. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councilors Sullivan, McCurry, Van Toborg, Samuel, Carpenter, Martin, Caputo, Sicoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, the first bylaw we'll discuss then is bylaw 2025. That's the bylaw to fix fees and charges. Councilor Carpenter.
I just separate it for the vote, Mr. Mayor.
All right, I'll call the vote on that. Yeah, it's bylaw 2025.
The first and second reading of bylaw 2025 carries on recorded vote of 7-2. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councilors Samuel, McCurry, Martin, Caputo, Sullivan, Sicoli, Mayor Davis. Members opposed, Councilor Carpenter and Councilor Samuel.
Councilor Carpenter, bylaw 2021 or 2025. Any discussion?
Same separate vote.
Okay, I'll call the vote then on that.
The first and second reading of bylaw 2025 carries on recorded vote of 8-1. Members of council vote in favor: Councilors Van Toborg, Samuel, McCurry, Martin, Caputo, Sullivan, Sicoli, Mayor Davis. Members opposed, Councilor Carpenter.
Councilor McCurry, if you please read the resolution of third and final reading and state your secretary.
Absolutely. I shall indeed, Mayor. Councilor Martin is the seconder, and the resolution for third reading reads as follows: that all bylaws having received a first and second reading be taken as read a third time and be finally passed and signed by the mayor and the clerk.
So, Councilor Carpenter, do you want those two separated for voting purposes?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we'll deal then with other than those two bylaws 12 through to 19 for third reading.
The third reading of all bylaws not separated for discussion purposes carries unanimously and recorded vote of 9-0. Members of council vote in favor: Councilors Van Toborg, Samuel, Carpenter, McCurry, Martin, Caputo, Sullivan, Sicoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, we'll deal first then with bylaw 20. Any discussion? Councilor McCurry.
Thank you, Mayor. So this, the fees and charges have been approved as part of our budget. Is that correct?
Joelle?
Through Mayor Davis, that is correct. The bylaw that's in place that's necessary to authorize the collection of those fees was approved at the outset of the multi-year budget process. So there were some minor amendments made and requiring the bylaw to be updated at this time.
Right. So we've already basically approved the charges and the fees as part of the budget. So the bylaw before us tonight actually just allows us to go ahead and collect those fees and charges. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So if we don't approve it tonight, if it were to fail unanimously tonight, that just means that we'd have a great set of fees and charges that we couldn't charge or fee.
Through the mayor, this is to amend the current bylaw. So I believe if the amendment failed, the existing bylaw would be in place. So any of the increases that were put in would not be able to be collected, but we wouldn't be without any ability to
Yes,
collect.
I was just having some fun, but this merely ratifies what we've already done basically and allows us to legally collect money for the city of Brantford. Great. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Council Martin?
Yeah, through you to staff, the changes that this bylaw reflect increases to fees and charges, does it not?
Through the mayor, yes, so there was, inflationary increases built in through the multi-year budget to all the fees. There was also some fee amendments that came through, a report October and November, through the Parks and Rec, service review, report as well, that are also built into, this updated bylaw as well.
Okay, so a vote against this is a vote against raising funds for the city. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to call the vote.
The third and final reading of bylaw 2025 carries on recorded vote of 7-2. Members of council vote in favor. Councillor Sullivan, McCreary, Samuel, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, Mayor Davis. Members opposed, Councillors Van Tilburg and Carpenter.
All right, we'll deal with the last bylaw for third reading. That's bylaw 21, 2025. Any discussion? Seeing none? Oh, Councillor McCreary.
Mayor, thank you very much. I did ask this question previously, but I don't quite recall what the answer was. Could staff simply tell us what the significance of the confirming bylaw is?
Through the chair, the municipal act stipulates that all decisions of council need to be made through bylaw, and the confirmation bylaw is simply putting all the resolutions that passed during this month into the format of a bylaw.
Does it necessarily mean that voting in favor of the bylaw means you agree with everything that happened?
Voting in favor of the bylaw essentially confirms the decisions that were made of the month.
I thought so. Thank you very much for that.
Not seeing any other discussion, I'll call the vote.
Bylaw 21, 2025 carries on a recorded vote of 8-1. Members of council voting in favor. Councillors Sullivan, McCreary, Van Tilburg, Samuel, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, Mayor Davis. Members opposed, Councillor Carpenter.
So as the clerk and I sign the bylaws, we'll do ward announcements, and I'll start with Councillor Van Tilburg. You're first.
My audio is not. We'll move on to the next person.
Okay, that's Councillor Carpenter.
I just like to let everybody know that just got sign up for baseballs. Signups are at Brandon Community Center. Check the Brandon website for the details and the prices, and you can get involved. Secondly, I'd like to tell everybody that we're getting rain, the snow is melting fast, and without the drains cleaned out, we're going to get flooding on the street. So just please dig out the drain and your fire hydrant if it hasn't been dug out, and make sure that
Councillor McCreary.
Oh, Mayor, thank you very much. Well, we've had the first meeting of our Brantford Tourism Development Corporation. Jay Goldberg was elected vice chair. I was elected chair. We're moving apace to set some criteria for how we expend the money that we're collecting on the room tax paid for generously by folks from away. A reminder that this Thursday is election day in the province of Ontario. I believe polls are open from 10 till 8. You may or may not have gotten your election card, but if you haven't, you can go to the Elections Ontario website, and on the front page is a spot where you type in your postal code, and it will tell you exactly where you go to vote. There are a number of good quality candidates to support, and I would urge everybody to get out and cast a ballot for one or the other. Sunday, March 9th, St. Andrew's Church, performance of the Grand River Chorus. They're doing a jazz set. You can get tickets. I can't remember how much the tickets are. I'm sure they're reasonably priced. You can go to Grand River Chorus's website and buy them there. Our public consultation task force meeting was canceled due to the snow. It's been rescheduled to 6 March at 6:30 at Gretz. Ditto our Winter Fun Fest. That was scheduled some time ago. Ironically enough, Winter Fun Fest was canceled because of winter weather, and it will be rescheduled Saturday, 22 March. And lastly, this August body met the other day, to review some of the Brantford 2050 stuff that we've heard from the community. We had a good session at Walter Gretzky Golf Course, and that's again part of this process. It'll be back here to council in the near future, and we'll be continuing apace with that as well. And thanks to Glenn Potier, who convened the session for us and who was most good natured and informative.
Councillor Sikolik.
Thank you. March the 3rd at 11 a.m. at Harmony Square, we're having a flag raising for International Women's Day. I'd encourage everyone to come out and enjoy that. Councillor McCurry took all my updates about the election, so I'll skip over that. A reminder to clean the crosswalks if you're a corner lot. There are individuals that can't cross the street if you haven't cleared the snow there. And I'm seeing a lot of children walk home from school and they're climbing up these big mountains and sliding down into the road. So it's a potentially dangerous situation. So do make sure that you're cleaning the crosswalk. On March 26th and March 27th, we're having a public engagement session. We're looking for individuals in the community to come out and have your say and give your suggestions on the new name for the Southwest Community Center and the park. So that's going to take place, like I said, March 26th, 27th from 4:30 p.m. to 7 at Wayne Gretzky Sports Center. And look forward to my newsletter for more updates on that. Thanks.
Councillor Sullivan.
Just want to reiterate what Councillor Carpenter said. Just be mindful out there with the rain. There's going to be some ice. It's going to get slippery out there. So make sure you've salted your walk so that we don't have anybody getting hurt.
Councillor Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And at the next city council, no matter who you call first, I'm just jumping in and starting talking. Everything's been taken already for this evening. But I do want everybody to do about Brantford Fun Fest. Please be out there Saturday, March 22nd. We have a great day of events planned. And it's a great kickoff to what will hopefully become not only just a great fun fest for winter, but at the same time, a kickstart to summer. On the actual streets and roads, folks, please, I'm still driving around the city, and especially down the ward, where there are a lot of cars that are still have actually been snowed in by the plow and haven't been moved in the last probably 10 days. And all that's going to lead to our tickets from bylaw for parking. We do have a bylaw. You do have to have your cars moved over for 24-hour period. So I strongly recommend you move your vehicles. And that's it. Thanks.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Due to a resignation from the airport board, there's an opening. I believe the process closes next week. So if you have an interest in applying for the airport board, please do so right away. And with the warm weather, any ice cover on the river is going to be unstable. So be sure to keep children and pets away from the river. Also, because of the snow melt and rain, the river will be high and fast and the banks will be slippery. So it's a very dangerous situation near the river right now. Please keep pets and children away from it.
Lastly, Councillor Sandwell.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I would agree with everybody else. There's a few updates that I had that were already taken, but don't worry, I have more. So I wanted to mention that the East Ward Echo Place Neighborhood Association is hosting a soap kitchen this Friday. So you could reach out to see if there's any space still available for that. The East Ward or the Eagle Place Community Association is actually hosting more adult board game nights at Doug Smith's Community Center, both on March 7th and 21st at 5:30 to 7:30. And also the Men's Shed has partnered with the Eagle Place Community Association as well. And so they'll be holding their meeting on March 12th at Doug Smith's Community Center at 10 a.m. So if you want to come out to that, everybody's welcome. And their next meeting actually will be at the fire hall on Clarence Street there. It's fire hall number 1, and that's March 19th at 10:30. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention that we would love for you to come out and join us on Heritage Committee. We do have an opening there, and you can look on the city's website under volunteer opportunities or email the clerk's office if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you for all those